Hi everybody, sorry for that. Got to see some behind the scenes stuff. Welcome to A Fern Between Us. This is episode 11.
We are 2 out of the 4 owners of Bivouac Winery, and we're here to just have a good time, and let's do some happy hour drinking right now.
Whoop, whoop. I'm Michelle, this is Jesse. He skipped that part.
I'm Jesse. That's Michelle. The other 2 owners are Chris and Liliana. They're not here because social distancing and stuff, even though I work side by side with Chris all day long. But we won't say that they're in our bubble. They could be here.
Yeah, well...
But it's 2 people is better probably for a format like this, right?
I would think so for this. I mean, I think at some point what we'll do is we'll have them zoom in on an episode.
Ooh, that'd be fun.
Right? Yeah.
Or we could just make them do it.
I'm sure Lily's like, shut up.
No, I did not do that, Jesse.
All right, so we have a little check-in to start off the show. How's everything going? I'd like to start by clearing up something from last week. One of the questions last week was, what are tattoos, various tattoos mean?
Oh man.
The 2 of us are very tattooed, and so thinking about all of the tattoos, it took a second to kind of think about it. Again, this is live, it's unrehearsed, so thinking about it, we forgot.
We got done and we realized the most important tattoo that we both got is our wedding ring, which to you guys probably looks like our right hand, but this is actually our left hands.
No, because it's switched.
Oh, okay. Maybe. I'll believe it when I see it. No, but
I remembered to click the thing.
we got our wedding band for our 5th anniversary because I kept smashing my wedding ring. We kept smashing on my finger, even though it was made out of titanium and this and that, and so I didn't like it. And Michelle said, "Yeah, let's do that," and I was like, "That's so permanent."
Yeah. Getting married.
That was a big mistake. Yeah, I didn't live that down for a while.
Having a kid, none of that's, permanent.
Apparently I didn't blink twice at any of those things, but the tattoo wedding ring, so she was a little skeptical.
But anyway,
yeah, how you doing, babe?
So yes, that was a meaningful tattoo. It was for our 5-year anniversary. And
it's the only tattoo that really means something, actually.
Right?
Yeah.
I know. And how am I? Things are rough these days. I don't care who you are on the planet. There just seems to be so much that's being flung our way as we keep trying to deal with the changes, and we thought we were going to be able to open and then we couldn't, and then we're waiting for maybe a new date and all of, the violence and everything. And so, trying to not be political, of course, because our show is about being fun. We need a break. I actually was really looking forward to this today because I just needed to break out of my slump. I was in a slump.
You were in a slump? That's not good. I on the other hand, I'm not in a slump. I feel great.
Maybe you are a slump.
I'm up on, I'm the Grinch up on the hill, whatever you call it. Anyway, in my own cave. Bah humbug. Oh, they're miserable? Yay! No, I'm just kidding. No, that's not how I am. I'm always happy. I love this. I'm having a good time. Even though times are rough, I actually am having a good time.
Can you elaborate on what exactly that means? Like having a good time because you're like winemaking and maybe not working as much? Yeah. Like, is that what you're going after?
No, I feel like I'm working as much, but I feel like also, I feel like, oh man, now I'm gonna get controversial.
Yeah, let's.
I feel like things are getting resolved, and I like that.
Movement forward.
Yeah.
Even though it feels like a big, chaotic.
It is rough, but I feel like
things are changing.
Yeah, our philosophy at Bivouac has always been inclusivity. So we like people of all stripes no matter what those stripes are. And I
we're
like
a multicultural company to begin with.
we're a multi, we're a white, not, what do you call that? New Mexico's not a white majority state. We might be the only one. We're also, so we grew up thinking different, thinking in a minority mentality in lots of ways. As white people, we were the minority, and
faced some hate crimes.
And faced a little, yeah. I mean, it's rough. It is rougher when you are in the minority. I realize I have tons of white privilege.
Oh my God! And I don't even want to keep talking about this subject because
exactly.
It's not a comparison. We
exactly.
have had it so easy.
But I strongly sympathize with people, and I just want everyone to treat everyone like they should be treated, and so at our winery anyway. That's what we're trying to do, and we're not,
Include everyone, love everyone, stay safe, wear a mask.
Partying is for everybody. Let's just hang out and have a good time, drink some wine, and And
Happy Pride Month.
Oh yeah.
This is the first show in June, and we don't want to forget about our friends that are part of the LGBTQ plus community. And I think with that, let's talk some wine. I hope everybody has opened something, has something in your hand. Because I got to tell you, it's a lot more fun to watch people drink when you're drinking too, even if it's not the same thing. So let's start with the Carignan. Do you think this is Karen's favorite wine?
Carignan. Maybe.
I know, super bad joke.
That's a dad joke right there. It's horrible.
I know, I'm a dork. I can't help it.
Tell us something about Carignan, babe.
So it's one of those grapes that has been kind of all over the world, and yet most people are not familiar with it. It was widely planted throughout France, originally a Spanish grape, but actually was the majority grape in France by 1988, which to me isn't that long ago, which I guess it is.
That says something, right?
Like,
man.
just 1988. Oops,
just
wait.
right then. It was a little smaller, but...
yeah. But, so then, essentially the wine glut that happened in California, and how we ended up with the Charles Shaw wines is also happened over there, where it was a mass producer, so it was planted widely throughout the country and was used to make jug wine, and they wanted to increase the value of the wines, and the government encouraged everybody to rip out some of the vines because it was just so overwhelming that people turned to the vineyards to start pulling back on how many tons per acre they were getting, the yield, and they ended up pulling out mostly Carignan. So it's kind of an interesting thing. It's really known along the Western Mediterranean, but you can find it all over the place.
So it went from glut to a dearth.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, dearth.
That just came to me. I didn't even plan that from before.
And so we like the grape. It grows really well in New Mexico, and it is grown in the southern part of the state. We have a freezer truck with, well, it's not refrigerated truck. Bring the grapes up to us.
A reefer truck.
Oh, I'm not up on my lingo, I guess. And then we process it here. So do you want to talk about what you and Chris do for the winemaking of this wine?
All right, so you mentioned it's had been overcropped, or at least it can carry a heavy crop load. But just because a grape can doesn't mean that it's quality. So that's when it was in jug wide form. So if you reduce the tons per acre, so all of our grapes come in, right around 4 or less. If we grow it, it's more like 2 or less. But from the southern part of the state, we get it at 4 or less. So we have super high quality grapes coming in, and
I mean, this tastes nothing even close to an manipulated kind of vine
and because
vineyard situation. It has such density, and it's one of the lighter wines that you make.
It is one of the lighter wines, and that's that's not a negative in my book. I feel like complexity is great, and that can be a bigger wine or a lighter body wine, but it's somewhere in between. It's a heavy medium. It's not the lightest of the reds that we make, but anyway, like I feel all right. So a nice cool fermentation. Which means, somewhere in the 70, 73, 75 degrees fermentation, lots of punch downs, always like with all of our reds, French oak only.
I feel like you can get those sweet spices a lot on the nose.
Yeah.
Those vanilla and caramel, and I feel like you can really, if you're looking in your own glass, if you happen to have a bottle of this or whatever you're drinking and you're curious about those notes, you're going to find them towards the top of the glass. And so, we swirled the glass to aerate it, bring up those aromas in the bouquet. You smell at the bottom of the glass so that you can get what's inherent to the grape itself. You get some spicy notes and some nice berry. And then up towards the top is where you're going to get those sweeter spices that come specifically from French oak. And what I really like about this wine that you've made too is that it's not super smoky. Yeah.
No, we try not to over oak. We do like to have some, a wine or two that's a little more heavily oaked on the list at all times, but this one would not lend itself to that. So we try not to be too much oak, too much smoke. And treating it that way, it comes out as a really nice kind of, somewhere between old world and new world style wine. And I actually really, really like it. We have not played with it that much. I think this is maybe our second vintage, or is this our first vintage?
No.
This is our second vintage of Carignan that we made.
I even thought it was our third.
This one is a 2017, which we are still selling. We're almost out of.
We're really close to out.
Oh yeah, no,
I actually took one of the few that are left for this show. Sorry, not sorry.
Sorry, not sorry.
But so you should definitely call and put in your order if you're interested in trying it. I think it fits for wine pairing needs. Somewhere in the vicinity of a Pinot Noir.
Okay.
It's
just
a
without
little,
the funk.
Yeah, exactly. It's a kind of a clean. People that might not like Pinot Noirs will really love this because it's got that complexity and interest and great body,
and it's got plenty of fruit too. It's a very approachable wine. I like it a lot, actually.
All right, so then shall we move on to Malbec?
Malbec.
So who doesn't love Malbec? I mean, that became the go-to grape, like the go-to wine there for a number of years. It was
when we were starting the winery in the early 2000s. Everyone was like, "Oh, I love Argentine Malbec." Everyone wanted a Malbec. Can you make one of those? I'm like, well, it would be a New Mexico Malbec, but maybe, I don't know. And then Paolo, our main grape grower, did not have Malbec planted at that time. And everyone's like, you should make a Malbec. I'm like, I don't have any Malbec in New Mexico. And they're like, well, I don't know. Can you get it somewhere else? And I said, I don't want to. But finally, enough people were asking Paolo for Malbec that he planted it. And then 4 decades later or whatever, you finally get a bottle of wine. It takes forever in our business. Following trends in wine is it's a ridiculous thing to try to do. But anyway, Malbec is a great grape.
Yes.
They do it really good and really well in Australia. Argentina, thank you.
Which is another high altitude place.
The big producers are producing, the stuff you find in the grocery store, unfortunately, is just mass produced, once again, high yields, lower altitude for Argentina. So they're growing it about where we're growing it at like 4,000 feet. But some of those smaller boutique and more expensive Malbecs that you can find in wine shops and stuff, those are insanely good. And those will be from higher altitudes like us. And in Argentina, they even grow higher than that. The grape originally comes from Bordeaux, correct?
Yes. originally a Bordeaux blend, included Malbec, but most of the time the way you're really going to get your hands on a French one is from the Cahors region. So that's in the southern part. And so if you're interested in trying a French version, you want to shop for Cahors because they, of course, being Europe, they aren't going to label it as Malbec, they're going to label it as the region. And so one of the things that I love about this particular Malbec that Jesse and Chris have made is that it's similar to the Cahors. It's not that jammy kind of Argentine version of a Malbec, which definitely has its place in the world, of course. But I really like how the fruit is a little bit more dried fruit.
It's leathery.
Raisined, and then there's this leathery component. There's this great mouthfeel. So I feel like something changed.
Tannins, or what? What were you going to say?
In winemaking, that this has a different mouthfeel than previously.
Than previous vintages?
You cut off, sir.
I'm already...
What's the story?
Interesting. All right. So this vintage is 2018. So when was the last? I don't even remember when.
It's been a couple of years.
So we maybe made one in 15 or something.
I
can't remember. 15,
maybe
16.
Chris and Lily are typing in. We can't see because it's so far away and we're old. But
they all right. So at some point, and I don't even remember when that was. I feel like for 16 vintage, we changed a lot of things about our winemaking. Not that it was bad before, but we just got a few.
You got to keep tweaking it.
Really big tips that we. In theory, we've always had two really big tips. Oh no!
And then it went awry.
No, we
advice that you could increase your winemaking.
We sat in on, we're always sitting in on new lectures and new classes and stuff like that, and somehow there was one guy that really kind of it solidified for me a few points. The science made sense, and I was able to we were able to implement a few new things that kind of
part of that is,
and the mouthfeel thing is a huge part of what we were
fermentation,
doing.
right?
Yeah, oak tree fermentation.
That's what I was really trying to lead you into.
Gotcha. Yeah, oak tree fermentation. Also the use of extracted tannins, extracted grape tannins to all these things kind of, and then the use of micro-oxidation. So between those three things, we've kind of been able to increase mouthfeel, structure, overall volume, while not going into the
jammy extracted kind of.
Exactly, which I feel like California and Oregon and Australia already corner the market on, and they do it great, and there's places for those wines as well. But
exactly, why copy something that's already being done?
Yeah, and I don't think the versions I've seen here in New Mexico don't compete with those, and then they solidly come in second place. Where I feel like if you go a little more old world with it,
winning all kinds of awards and getting some phenomenal ratings from James Suckling, and a lot of that I think has to do with that shift that made a big difference.
And then plus our philosophy on what wine is for. Is it for getting blasted? No, that's just a side benefit. We're trying to make a food-friendly wine something that you can, really, and then if you get blasted in the meantime.
Alrighty. Any last words on Malbec, or can we jump into questions?
Let's go questions.
Alright, so I'm part of a number of wine-obsessed groups on social media. And so I've put it out there to some of them to ask us whatever they would like. The first one is, She says, I mostly drink dry reds, but occasionally on hot summer days, I like a good rosé. I've noticed the ones I usually like are Pinot Noir rosés. Can you explain the rosé process and why some of them state that they are Pinot Noirs? So if you are tuning in and curious about the process too, we'll go over that a little bit. But also, we did talk about it in last week's show too, so you might want to just back up an episode and watch that as well. But there are two different ways to make a rosé.
Yeah, there's a way to make a rosé and a way to make, blush or something. All right, so you can make a white wine pink by adding a little red wine. That's not a rosé. That's a blend that ended up being, and that's what you call blush.
And usually
often they sweeten, and it's, you don't get the complexity of flavors. It's, I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, I'm sure it's got its time and its place. The
sangria.
Right?
But if that's your bag and you love drinking blush wines, please keep drinking them.
Yeah.
Please just drink wine.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
But anyway, then the traditional method to make a French Provence style
is you take a red grape and you press it relatively quickly, between 0 and 12 hours, maybe up to 24 hours. In the case of Pinot Noir, it can stay with the skins. Other than that, you press off the juice and then ferment it. Treat it exactly like a white wine. After that, you ferment just juice. So you can do that with any red grape. Pinot Noir is a red grape. Any grape with the word noir on it is going to be a red grape. Blanc de Noir, your champagne, that's made from Pinot grapes. And if you do look at them, I mean, it's real slight in a sparkling wine, but you can see like a little tint of pink in the Blanc de Noir champagne.
Well, and it seems to me that the reason why a lot of them are Pinot Noir is that you can leave it on the skin a little bit longer, because if you press it immediately, it really does look like a white wine, like Jesse's saying. But if you leave it a little bit longer, you're actually getting a little bit more flavor component that makes it a popular grape to use. But there's Malbec rosés, and
we have a Cabernet rosé. There's Merlot rosés. There's Syrah is a really common one. Our most popular, because we've been doing it for so long and the price point's great, is our Sangiovese rosé. But so it can be made out of Pinot Noir, and if those are the ones you like, that's awesome. My guess is that you will dig on most dry rosés if you like a Pinot Noir rosé. So try a few other ones as well, but keep going. I mean, the Pinot Noir's absolutely a common one to do it out of, and it's a good one. It's it's not going to bleed too much color or too much tannins or too much flavor. It's a great grape to work with in lots of styles.
And I think that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Start looking for wineries that are specifically dry focused, like ours is.
I'm thirsty again.
Most of our wines are dry, and that then ensures you a certain style of rosé. Let's jump into the second question, though, before Jesse passes out. This is a good one that, for whatever reason, we can't remember to tell anybody about. What does Bivouac mean?
Right. It's a Spanish word, same word in French, even though Spanish and French speakers do not know this word because they're not all mountain climbers. It's a mountaineering term that means high altitude refuge. It's related to the word bivouac you might have heard of in English. But basically it's just like your last high base camp, and because we're at 6,000 feet, there we are. There we're really, 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 really high in the world of wine. Maybe the highest in the United States, and definitely
one of the top in the world, which is
one of the top in the world. Yeah,
pretty cool.
Argentina has some higher than us, and I don't know specifically of anywhere else. We're really high. 6,000 feet's high for a vineyard.
Yeah. So there you have it, and we'll try to remember to tell you guys what it means more often.
Right?
Our next question is, why are grapes at this store labeled white or red, but I never see Chardonnay or Cabernet grapes?
Wine grapes. Do you want to take this?
No. I really like this question because
awesome.
a lot of people are excited about, let me learn about these grapes, and then where do you get them, and why aren't I seeing them?
So so table grapes, the grapes that you buy at the store for eating, they're almost always seedless. They've been I don't want to say genetically engineered, but or modified or anything, because it's not like they didn't gene splice or something, but they breeded to breed the seeds out of them, and they're mostly not Vitis vinifera, which almost all the wines in the world are made out of Vitis vinifera, which is
the ones that you're looking for,
right.
Cabernet,
and Merlot, all those things.
Sure.
The other real distinguishing feature is tons and tons of seeds in wine grapes. So wine grapes always have,
and actually sweeter.
Oh, so much sweeter. Wine grapes are the sweetest fruit. They're sweeter than mangoes. When we harvest wine grapes, 25% of their weight is sugar. It's so sweet. Everyone's like, hey, if I pick for you, can I eat some? And we're like, you can eat as much as you want, because they're not going to have more than 30 individual grapes, because it's just so much sweetness. It'd be like, for reference, Coca-Cola is 11 or 12%.
Oh, that's
sugar,
a great comparison.
Right? So this is way more than, they're decently more than twice as sweet as Coca-Cola the grapes that we crush and then ferment.
But as a side note,
which is also
that is why we need those high sugars, because they're converted into alcohol. It's not that the wine stays at a sweet level. It's up to the winemaker for stopping that fermentation or making sure it's a healthy through fermentation. So I know a lot of people get a little worried about the sugar content in wine. Well, if you drink sweet wines, there will be higher sugar, but if you drink dry wines, then that's, really minute.
Yeah, and exactly. And besides, for the tiny amount of grape flesh you're getting, you're gonna spit out like 6 or 7 seeds or something for every grape. It's a lot. Yeah.
But so
that's why you don't see those as table grapes as grapes that you would eat. You can eat them; they're fabulous.
They just don't sell them at any of the stores. And if you're looking to buy some, you have to actually find a vineyard and request, purchasing from somebody.
An interesting side note, all the table grapes, the seedless table grapes that we eat, they all, to my knowledge, they're all from one of the 17 families of grapes that are native to the Americas, which most people haven't heard of or whatever, but there's only one family of grapes that's native to Europe, and makes up like 99% of the wines that we drink. We've tried over and over and over again to cross them and get some hardier grapes for places like us that are high altitude or upstate New York or whatever, and they're called French hybrids, and trying to produce a grape that will make good wine that can also survive in a weird climate, to mediocre results. Like we're trying and people are trying, universities mostly, and it's there's some good hybrid wines, but it's few and far between, and it's really hard to come up with a new species of something that does well for all purposes that you're looking for.
I will pretty much drink all wines. I feel there's a purpose at some point and a use for all wines, but I try not to be snobby, but gosh, those French hybrids can be so difficult to drink.
Should we name a few or just not really?
Yeah, I think we'll just move on to a new question.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, so watching all of you on social media, you all look like great parents. What is your best parenting advice?
I got a couple good questions over here too.
Oh,
That we'll get to in a second. But we look like we're good parents. What's our best parenting advice?
yeah. So people watching all of our social media for the winery.
Oh,
There's
God.
4 of us. We have between the
Okay.
2 couples, 3 kids.
In our personal case, our daughter might disagree with the fact that we're great parents or something, but
She tells us regularly.
I did. If you love them, I don't know, just love them. That's I
I like that.
that's my,
Yeah.
you know, when things get tough, it's like, how important is this one issue? I don't know. I
Pick your battles for sure.
pick your battles and just love them. I don't know.
I also have to quote one
Even
of
though they're a pain in the butt, which Denali
maybe-
knows. Denali knows she's a pain in the butt. So.
maybe the best advice is just don't have kids. No, I'm
Don't
just
talk
kidding.
at them. Don't look at them. if you walk around the corner,
Don't
and they-
ask any questions.
Yeah, maybe you're all right. That's when they're a teenager. Before, I don't know.
One of the best pieces of advice that I was ever given is from the brilliant Lindsay Schreiber, who said, "You just parent the child you have, and you don't listen to anybody else." And I think
Yeah.
that is so important, because what's working in your family and
Yeah.
your kid, who knows what's going on, your dynamics,
Yeah.
you know, if the kid needs more support or not, or anything like that. You just have to figure out how to have a healthy family and move through stages that can be difficult. And I think that's a big one, is not listening to when, you know, other people tell you how to parent, because they don't live the day to day.
Yeah. Everyone's different. You can't
All right.
can't parent one child the same as another one, maybe.
So is
So,
this
all right, so
from
there's-
Chris and Lily? Are they texting
Yeah,
some
Lily's
questions?
testing it.
Excellent, thank you.
So I don't know who it was, but somebody texted in asking, so where does the residual sugar come from in our wines? Ideally, here.
Great question.
That is a great question. So ideally, in like in a like the late harvest Riesling or the port, for sure. Late harvest, we harvest them late, which means the sugar got up past 25%, and you know, maybe all the way to 30, 31, 32% ideally. And then we ferment it all the way down to where it's has an 8 to 12%. Like, I'm talking about.
You're talking
late harvest first. Okay,
Yeah.
late harvest first. So we you know, we get it up to 30% plus, and then ferment it to where the sugar or the yeast have eaten enough sugar to lead to where it's still at 8%.
A natural sugar is
Right.
remaining, giving it a sweetness.
And then we stop the fermentation by cooling it really, really far down quickly. And then, so then the sugars are the natural sugars found in the grapes, plus you're left with like 12% alcohol, or maybe 11% alcohol, plus 8% residual sugar. And that makes just a beautiful composition of a wine.
You've
If
also
you get the
pulled
numbers wrong.
juice.
Sorry, go ahead.
You've also pulled initial juice and added that back in as
That's
not for the late harvest, but what was
That's another way you can do it, that we've done on our 7 bricks white sometimes. If you pull juice aside and don't let it ferment, and then ferment the rest of it, and then add that back together and keep the fermentation stopped, stop that fermentation, keep that fermentation stopped, then you can have some residual sugar that are natural sugars. That's a great way to do it. With port, you start with a normal like 25%, and you ferment it halfway, and then you stop it with in that situation, the alcohol becomes too much for the yeast. The yeast are, sent, and they don't die, but they're sent into like some kind of like paralysis or whatever.
Yeah, I was trying to. They're like dormant.
Yeah, they all have an alcohol tolerance, and they can't get past a certain level. So different yeast strains are different tolerance levels or whatever. But we're bumping it from up to like a 20 or 21, 22% alcohol, and almost no yeast can ferment past there. So then you have higher alcohol because of the brandy and the temperature to help really stop it quickly. Those are the best ways. You can always, you can always add a little sugar back if you sometimes we add a little sugar back if we have to. We try not to do that. We try to just have the sugars be the natural sugars in the grapes.
I was going to say, because one of the most important things is that you're looking at the skill level of the winemakers, and you can't rush past that, because these are very tricky fermentation issues where if you blow it, you're going to blow the entire lot of...
Which we've done.
Yeah, and I mean, Jesse and Chris have worked really hard at constantly learning from their mistakes, taking classes, reading how they can move forward, and crafting how to do this properly. So it's not a thing to just pass over when you taste somebody's late harvest Riesling or port and see the incredible beauty of their artistic hand at play in the winemaking. I think that's a really important point.
Yeah, and some of the best, there's we're just following the methodology of the German late harvest stuff and the Canadian late harvest wines and stuff like that.
So
one last thing was Tim Christian just giving me crap about my hair. He's like, "What's up with your hair, dude?" Yeah, I don't know. I took a shower, and I've had a hat for 5 days.
He took a shower.
It's pretty good. I took a shower for you guys. What more do you want? I mean, we're here drinking.
In the house. I mean, it's hard.
What other questions you got?
All right, so let's see. Our final question is, how do I know if a wine is bad or off? Seems like all the wines I drink are fine, but how would I tell? So there's a couple of things.
Yeah.
The purring over there sounds like you need a second to think. So one of the things is that it's that ignorance is bliss a little bit. I remember when Jesse and I were first dating, and I had not taken any of my wine classes. I was a newbie. I knew just a little bit about wine to make me dangerous. And I was eager to learn, and Jesse pointed out what corked smelled and tasted like in a wine that I had been enjoying. Mm-hmm. Once you are tuned into certain flaws, you have to really consider, is this now drinkable? Or because small amounts of issues can still be a enjoyable bottle of wine. Some people will never even notice those faults or flaws. Mm-hmm. But also, the more you dive into this realm of, is it flawed? How do I pick that up? It can ruin many a bottle of wine for you.
Yeah.
So I love people learning and wanting to learn. And now with all my various, certifications and this, that, and the other, I love teaching classes that encourage people to just be enthusiastic about wine and not scared of it. So I feel like to answer this question properly is to say, if you're liking the wine, do not worry about it. If it has a flaw, or if somebody else says it has a flaw, you enjoy it. Now, if you want to learn more about flaws and how to detect them, my good friend who's a co-judge at international wine competitions, Anne-Marie, she's phenomenal and brilliant and a professor at Cornell. She is friends with someone that just created a fabulous new website, and it is about wine faults, and I can't hardly see. It's vineandwine.vin. So I'm going to, in the comments, if you want to come back to it, I will post the link, but this site is really well done, where it gives what the aromatics are, where it comes from, but simple, so that you can really follow that.
I would concentrate on two flaws myself. I would say there's really only two that you come in contact with commonly. Like, the winemakers need to know way more, but corked, and that comes from literally the cork almost always, and then VA, which is volatile acidity, and it's basically the smell of vinegar. So it'll run rampant in certain wineries that have maybe lazier practices. Every winery is going to get a wine here and there that's going to come down, that's going to have VA more than they would want.
Well, and the interesting thing that we found over in Central Europe,
they like it with more.
They prefer it, and in some situations, people find that a little VA actually gives it more structure and interest. So you can actually debate people.
I even agree with that. I like a wine. I like a wine with a little VA. All wine has some VA. Let's put that out there. All wine, like, there's no such thing as a wine you send in to be tested that doesn't have VA. They have VA a little bit, but it's just
how sensitive you are to it and your perception of it.
Exactly. So those are the two that I would worry about. Everything else is basically not common enough to worry about if you don't want to geek out.
Yeah, but if you do, check out that website, because it's super awesome. And that was one of the first things that I started to really find interesting when we were just dating, and I was learning from you. And so the first one was corked, and then the next one was geraniol, because there was a wine that was served at a lot of functions that I couldn't drink. Just, it bothered me immensely, and I described it as, it smells like geraniums, and it really, really bothers me. And that kind of started my falling into the
She's wicked good, guys. I'm gonna start putting questions on here more towards her. I've been meaning to, and I haven't done it yet. But this woman, my wife here, can really she could taste things. It's unreal, her ability to. We all taste things, but we don't have a mental.
We aren't mental.
A hook, like they're like, for some reason she can be like, oh, that's that taste, and remember it from something else, and like attach a memory to the sensation of that taste better than the rest of us. And I don't know what it is, but it means that she's one of these people that can be like, oh, this might be a blah 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 from blah 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 region with but probably on the left side of the river, because over there they use a little more Hungarian oak versus or whatever. Like, she's so good that way. She's our best taster for sure. So we don't let her in the winery, because it would just drive us nuts. Maybe.
Well, but I am always extremely honest when I give you reviews of wines, and I have been very, very blessed to be invited to some very incredible international wine competitions and meet some people that have been able to take us to some really unique areas, like Central Europe, where I was then able to judge 3 very prestigious competitions, and then one of the most prestigious being in Berlin later that summer. But the more wines you taste, the more you get better at identifying and doing this. So it's which came first, kind of. All right. Well,
the rich get richer. Is that what you're saying?
Well,
back to the beginning. See how I took that full circle?
I'd like to know when we're gonna get rich. Then that'd be nice.
No, you got richer in the experience and therefore better
yes.
at the, you know.
Yes. All right. So we've gone super long. I just want to. I know. Yappy. So the wines for next week, I'm actually hoping that they are going to be our partnership with Robert Mirabal. We actually partnered with Robert, and if you aren't familiar with him for some reason, you need to Google his name because he is just a phenomenal artist. He's a musician. He makes his own flutes. He is an actor. He is a farmer. He's a wonderful person.
Grammy Award winner.
Yeah, and
he's met everybody, you know, Al Gore and, you know, everybody.
Yeah. But he's absolutely salt of the earth, amazing. We're really excited to be partners with him, and we created 2 very special wines for him, for his brand. So tasting those is going to be really exciting because they are different than what we have in our regular lineup, and I'm hoping I can get him to zoom in and we can talk to him about his experience and why he wanted to create wines with us. And so I think that'll be really fun. And
yeah, he's an awesome dude.
Oh, his entire family is so fabulous. He has these daughters that are just gorgeous and amazing and so smart and talented. And young, so I can't wait to see where they go.
Yeah, his eldest is just graduated, and she's graduated high school, and she's already like founded organizations for helping people and things like that. She's like, these are amazing people.
So hopefully that's going to be the focus if it works for his schedule next week. Final thing, a little spot of trivia or advice is so. Like everybody, there are mistakes that happen. Like you leave your wine in the trunk of your car, it gets baked, and now
all bad.
It's not going to be good. So, for example, sometimes some people that even know a ton about wine, or wine enthusiasts, can make mistakes, like leaving wine outside for months because you put it in the snow to cool down and then forgot about it, and which, by the way, snow is a great way to cool your wine down really quick if you have a white.
In the winter.
And then you find it, months later when it's been out in the sunshine forever, and you bring it home and you try the, well, what will it taste like? Well, so this was a rosé of ours that we then tried out. We chilled it back down, and of course it was pushing the cork, so we knew that it was not going to be great, of course. But the taste on the palate was okay. The smell was horrible.
Yeah, it was funky. It smelled like wet dog. And by the way, it was this guy that put the wines in the snow
and then
for our staff party, like an idiot, thinking like I'm gonna remember, and then we got, you know, into the white, what do you call it, white elephant or whatever, and then so we hadn't stepped foot in this place, and I was walking by and I saw, oh my god, here we are, we've got 3 bottles of wine just like stashed over here, like in between the bushes next to the building, and I'm like, oh, that's right. Lucky it was me that saw it. Somebody else would have been like, I don't understand. But all of a sudden, it all came back to me that I had left it there. So every afternoon, it had been in the sun since, you know, early January.
It smells awful. It tastes okay. What do you do, right? So here is what I did to solve the problem, and I hope this is a good advice point for you at home. If you open a bottle of wine that you say, oh no, I really hate this. So I added ice, I know. And
ice
then
is awesome.
I added a raspberry flavored seltzer water. I know. And then I added a squeeze of lime.
Beautiful.
What? It was amazing, refreshing, and we were able to not have those bottles go to waste.
Yeah, so we drank 2 bottles that way.
Don't let it go to waste.
Right? Sangria, mixed drinks with wine is here. It's here to stay. It's a beautiful thing. Do it when you need to.
All right.
That's it.
Sorry for the extremely long episode. We love you guys. Thank you so much for sharing this, being
Cheers.
here, and we'll see you next week.
Cheers, guys.